All right, Cougs. I am so sorry in advance because we are going to geek out on this episode. I have been long awaiting to have Sheryl McGrath on. She is the state director of the Washington Small Business Development Center. And fun fact, back in my Kelsey early career days, I worked kind of closely with the SBDC. So I know a lot about it, but it's a great resource. It's actually connected to WSU. And today, Cheryl's going to give us the inside scoop and how this could be just an awesome thing that you should know about. So, without further ado, Sheryl, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Me too. I think we have to start with you and tell us a little bit, kind of like your career journey and how you ended up in this role. And then we'll tell you all the context of what SBDC is and the relationship to WSU. But first, I want to hear about you, Sheryl. Give us the backstory.
Well, Cliff's Notes version. I started out after I got my master's degree in corporate America and moved up the ladder very rapidly, but found my calling was in service to other people. So I moved into the 501c3 world with health and human services, helping children and families and women in grief and crisis and low income cancer patients and people dealing with health issues. And just found that I loved being a servant leader. And so I went from many, many years in that arena. And I was approached by a chamber of commerce that represented 8 cities on the west side of Washington. And I actually accepted a position, again, a 501c organization, but a C4, which was focused on economic development and a chamber of commerce, so member to member services, but still in servant leadership. So that's where I wet my whistle in economic development and community building. And fast forward, I grew tired of that for a little while. So I opened my own business, which was a restaurant. So I went from one nonprofit world to another. And I loved it, but I realized that wasn't my calling. So served as the president and CEO of the Washington Agriculture and Forestry Foundation for several years, an adult, actually 5 years, an adult leadership development organization across the state for people in natural resources. And then the SBDC opportunity presented itself. And my gosh, SBDC has wrapped everything I have done in my entire career professionally into one beautiful, beautiful place. And I love it.
That's so cool. And I'm curious, after you had your own business, did that change your mindset around helping people who had businesses at all? I know for me, I kind of went through that, but I'm just curious your experience with that.
Yes, it did. And frankly, back then, I wish that I would have known about SBDC because I made every mistake in the world and I learned from my mistakes. And when the opportunity came to serve with SBDC to small businesses across Washington, I realized that here we have this no cost resource for small businesses. And again, I think if I would have known about the SBDC back then, I might still have a restaurant. But I'll tell you what, crawling under dish machines and filling in for the pantry cook who didn't show up, or the dishwasher, or serving the janitor lunch at 2 a.m. and when you have to be back at 7 a.m. just probably wasn't my calling, but I love to be able to provide or lead the organization and help serve those people who have that dream and can do it with passion because they love it. And for me, being a part of that catalyst to help them succeed is what's most important.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think we need to stop hiding it from the people. Not that we're hiding it, but let's explain what SBDC is. So again, it stands for Washington Small Business Development Center. Do you mind explaining like what SBDC is just as a whole and then specific to Washington? Because I think again, there's people listening who probably have never heard this before.
Probably haven't. So actually, small business development centers were created by an act of Congress back in 1977. And I know WSU people will understand that land grant universities have and had a purpose, which is really helping agricultural producers succeed, henceforth extension projects, et cetera. So back in the 70s, Congress passed what was called the Small Business Act to help small businesses along the same vein as how agricultural producers were being helped by land grant universities. So in 1980, WSU stepped up as the land grant university in Washington State to host the SBDC. So we were one of the earliest SBDCs in the whole United States. And SBDC has been a part of WSU from its very, very beginning. So 44 years. And what we do is provide confidential, huge with all caps confidential, one-on-one individualized business advising for small businesses at no cost. And keep in mind, I did not say free. It is no cost because we ask our clients to quote unquote pay us by completing a couple of surveys a year, which helps us report to Congress the successes and the impacts that federal dollars are making in every community across the state. And so that's how we can share our story, and we can show, we can prove, we justify the importance and the impacts that the SBDC makes. And we would have never been able to do it for this long and so successfully in Washington without WSU. Now, we also do, of course, webinars, workshops, trainings, specialized advising and technical assistance. We help small businesses, which is really important to the CougsFirst family, from writing business plans to financial projections, to commercial lease negotiations, to cybersecurity, to succession planning, to online marketing, to creating a website, to anything a small business needs to know about to help their business succeed. And while our advisors, we got more than 50 of them across the state, they go through a really, really rigorous certification process. So you know that when you're dealing with an SBDC advisor here in Washington, you're getting the best of the best. They're amazing, amazingly gifted people. But our advisors help the small businesses. They guide them to the businesses themselves making the most informed and best decisions they can. And sometimes it could be, no, I'm not going to buy that piece of equipment because it doesn't pencil out, you know, with the financial responsibilities involved. Or, yeah, I want to close or sell my business to my son, but he doesn't want to buy it. So let's go a different direction. So the advisors really individualize all of the technical services that they provide our small businesses. And most of our small business clients become clients for years.
That's so amazing. And I think, again, so many people don't know about it. And for those that don't know, I'm in this space in a personal way. I work with small business owners, and within that, I only have so much capacity. I only have so much of my Kelsey's secret sauce, my area of expertise. What I love back in the day when I knew about SBDC and worked more closely is not only do you have, you said 50, around 50 advisors, but they also have their specialties too. I thought that was really unique. So I'm assuming if someone reaches out, you can also kind of direct them based off their needs to an advisor who can fill that specific need that they have as well.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, we have 32 locations across the state, and we don't consider a location a barrier. You know, our advisors don't just work for a particular city or county.
Mm-hmm.
They work across the state, and co-advising, or we call it co-advising, where two or more advisors will work together to assist the small businesses. It's just amazing. And I know we're halfway through 2024, but last year we helped almost 3,500 clients.
Wow.
And you think, wow, that's a lot. But do you know how many small businesses there are in Washington? How
No,
many
I
of
should know
our,
that. No.
right? Well, like 600,000. And so you think about this small business community, they need the services that we provide. And the more services we can provide, the better off we can leverage those services to leverage funding to add more advisors, to provide assistance. I mean, it's just this wonderful thing that snowballs. The more people know about us, the more we can grow, the more businesses we can help, and the healthier that communities become.
Oh, but also at the same time, it kind of sounds like it's a chicken or the egg thing. It's like, you hit this point of capacity with your current team, and then you have more resources to expand capacity, but then you need to hit capacity again. So the best thing we can do is tell everyone about this.
Tell everybody about this. Yeah. And I mean, again, we're so thankful that we have the support of Congress. Yes, we get funding from the federal government. We also get generous funding from Washington State University as our host university. But one thing a lot of people don't understand is that every dollar we get from the federal government, we have to match dollar for dollar with in-state investment.
Mm.
So 50% of our funding comes from the federal government, but every other penny comes from within the state of Washington. And I'll tell you what, that is probably the most beautiful example of a public-private partnership you've ever seen. And everybody's invested. And I love statistics and analysis and stuff like that. In 2023, for every dollar that we received at the SBDC, every single dollar, the return on investment was $5.62.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mhm.
So someone's listening to this. What why should someone reach out? Like what are some typical things that you see when business owners are reaching out to you and it's a great fit for the services that SBDC has?
We have everything from I have a dream, a business plan on a napkin where we can assist. We've got this wonderful startup course beginning in August. So we've got something coming up pretty soon. A five session class on everything an entrepreneur needs to know to start a business, workbooks and everything. We have the business who's like, I've been selling product in the United States for 11 years, and I think it's time to go international. Call us, let us know. We have 3 international trade specialists on board. We have a member of CougsFirst who says, I have a great technology idea. Call us, let us know. We have a tech commercialization specialist. If you have been in business for a year and things aren't penciling out on paper, maybe you had a little error in your cash flow projections, call us, we can help.
That's
So
amazing.
we really are there to help any business that's small, by definition, small businesses under 500 employees, which is like really a big business to me. However, most of our businesses are 50 or fewer employees. And just reach out because we have such a wealth of expertise on our team. And our team members they have hearts of gold and hearts of service, and we're here to transform lives.
Yeah, I think that really comes through in just the way that it's structured and built. So then now we're entering the territory. These are just nosy questions I've always wanted to ask somebody, but I think the listeners will appreciate it. What what leads to someone wanting to be an advisor? Like the team that you have, how are they involved and why do they do it? Like what's their why for getting engaged with SBDC?
A lot of our advisors come from owning their own businesses like I did,
Yeah.
and having learned from their experiences, both the good and the more uh, challenging things that they had to deal with. They know that they love the business aspect of it, but they really have hearts of service. And across the board, our team members are committed to serving the small businesses because they believe that small business is the backbone of our country. It is. There are more small businesses than large businesses. And our small business clients, our small business community, they are they're the heart and soul of every community, whether it's a neighborhood, uh, an urban setting, rural communities. You think about, a very rural neighborhood or a rural area in Southwest Washington. And if their small grocery store, the only one for 60 miles, closes because they didn't have the appropriate assistance, that's a huge impact on a whole community. So if the SBDC advisor can help guide to success and good decision making, my gosh, that is transformational and it's impactful. And so our team members know that and they feel that and they're passionate about their work. This is not the get rich place to work. This is the place to get rich in your soul because you know that you're making a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think when it comes to coaching, advising, and mentoring, that is, you have to have that in you. That you have to, because man, if you want to make a quick buck, there's other things you can do.
Yeah, right.
Just saying.
Mhm.
Um, so when we talk about WSU, I know kind of by default WSU became the host because it's a land grant. But when we think of WSU as like the culture and the type of people, how does that fit with SBDC? Because I see how it makes sense, but I'm curious from your vantage point, what in the WSU culture aligns well with SBDC and what you guys are doing?
Well, if you look at WSU culture, mission, vision, and values, and you look at SBDC, mission, vision, and values, our guiding principles, what are we talking about? Education, research. We talk about integrity, collaboration, partnerships, inclusivity. You know, my gosh, how could this not be anything but a perfect fit?
Yeah.
I mean, everything that WSU does is innovative, creative. It includes people. It draws the best out in people. Um, and that's what SBDC is all about.
Yeah.
That's why we're such great partners.
Yeah. I was going to say it's lasted a long time, but it makes a lot of sense. And I think that I'm excited for people to know more about it. I've always wondered, someone on the outside, they do a quick Google, they listen to this episode, they check out the website. How do you very succinctly describe the difference between all the other resources out there? So you have your Chamber of Commerce, you have your SBA, you have SBDC. If you were to just give a very quick answer for what's the difference between all of those and where do they collaborate, how would you navigate that question?
Okay, so we don't give money, we don't provide loans, we don't give out grants. Okay,
Great.
so we're not SBA, but we fall under the SBA's umbrella at a federal level. We are not a chamber of commerce because we're not a membership organization and we're not focused on the economic development piece as far as business recruitment and retention. We are about serving the individual businesses at any stage of their business life cycle.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was perfectly said. And I think it kind of shows the need for all of them, depending, like if you really want well-rounded support in business, you need the community where you can get those partnerships, collaborations. You also need the funding and the resources there, especially during COVID. I know SBA was very, very active is the word I'll use. I'm sure they were extremely busy, but I think that's awesome to know. Can you tell me a little bit more about this course that's coming up? How can people learn more about it and who is it best for?
It will be best for pre-venture businesses, people who have a good idea, but they're not sure if they're quite ready.
Okay.
And so it'll be 5 sessions over a course of 5 weeks. Our attendees will receive a workbook and it will be trainings on everything from writing a business plan to cash flow projections. You've heard me say that multiple times because that's one of those big things that comes up a lot. Financial analysis for small businesses, HR, HR and the labor and industries requirements. And then what it, a summary, what does it really take to own and successfully operate a small business?
That sounds really well rounded. And I think, in the vantage point I have working with a lot of small businesses, I think the pause of really having that intentional foundation would be well worth it. Because for a lot of people, it's being a business owner isn't for everybody. And you can still support the community like Sheryl has, like I get to in different ways and still get that fulfillment. But I think that, I don't know, I can go on a tangent, but I kind of feel like entrepreneurship's really romanticized right now. And I think that course can be just a really good gut check to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and you're going to get the results that you're anticipating out of it too.
Well, honestly, if somebody can't commit to five weeks of an hour and a half a week, how can they commit to a lifetime of a business?
Cheryl's coming in with the truth bomb. Absolutely. That's so, so true. So as we're kind of wrapping up before the rapid fire, I have just I'd love to help people and I'd love to hear from your vantage point. Now with where you're at, having had your own restaurant and business, what is one thing maybe you would have done different this time around if you had known all the things that you know now?
Don't hire your produce salesman's brother's girlfriend's cousin to do payroll.
Yeah.
True story. Don't do that.
I I always say hire slow, fire fast, but I like the nuance of that one a lot more. That's a great that's a great piece of advice. I imagine there's a great story behind all of it.
That's for another day.
That's for another day. Well, thank you so much for this. I told you it would go fast, and now it's time for some rapid fire questions. Sheryl, are you ready?
I think so. I'm holding on to my seat.
Okay, and listeners, these are brand new. So if you think you know, you don't know. Get ready.
Okay.
First question is, where is the best place for a business meeting?
A business meeting's best place is where everybody is comfortable and they're not interrupted.
Louder for the people in the back. That's so good. Okay, number two. Knowing any Kugon business owners, how would you describe them in one word?
Amazing.
Okay, number three. What is your favorite business related podcast or book?
CougsFirst.
Number four. What's the best piece of advice you could give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
Be patient and thorough.
And number five. Why should business owners be a part of communities like CougsFirst?
Because they will only benefit and make each other stronger.
Those are great answers. Thank you so much for that. Cheryl, I think today's conversation was so needed, so important, and I want to make sure that we direct people to some resources. So, where's the best place people can go to find more information?
Absolutely. Go to our website, which is wsbdc.org. You can find all kinds of information on the website. There is a really easy to fill out form if you want to contact an advisor. We have a wonderful intake team. You can read all about our resources, but please do go to our website. Feel free to reach out to me or any of our team members because we are here to serve you.
I love that. And I'm going to add one more call to action here. If you're listening and you're not a business owner, but you know a business owner in the state of Washington, please pass this information along. I think as Sheryl was sharing in the episode, it's important more people know about this resource because the more that we promote it and the more demand there is, the more support they get. And I think the best thing we can do is spread the word because this is an awesome thing that exists in our state and we get to wrap it under the Coug umbrella, which makes it even better. So that's my Kelsey 2 cents on that. Sheryl, thank you so much for coming on this episode. I really appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you and go Cougs.
Go Cougs, everyone.